Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Duke, and welcome to Political Jazz at Oliver McGee. Each week, we dive into D.C. politics and speak directly to former White House senior advisor Oliver McGee. Oliver, good to see you today.
Very good to be back with you, Dr. Duke.
All right, my friend. This week, I want to tackle a statement recently made by Donald Trump that has the left's panties on fire. It relates to birthright citizenship and possibly ending it through an executive order. Talk about, constitutionally, what is birthright citizenship? Where do we find it in the Constitution? And what can Donald Trump actually do as president?
That's a great question, Dr. Duke. It's bedded into the 14th Amendment. It's one of my most favorite amendments in the Constitution. The 14th Amendment is about truth, beauty, and goodness. The amendment that we live by, and also about liberty, equality, and justice, the amendment that we're judged by. And essentially, the citizenship clause inside that amendment, embedded inside, is really tying us back to the Civil Rights Act of 1868 that said that we all have principles of equality, but also we have a social ability and a national sovereignty that we want to be Americans. And so that is really given saying that the president has the power and this 14th Amendment to invoke birthright citizenship. That means that someone who is now in the United States legally and has a child has a legal citizen as a child. But if someone is in the United States illegally, then they also have a child. That child does not assume citizenship because the parents have given them the birthright of non-citizenship. The key thing is that we're a nation of rule of law. So whether the parents are unmarried or married, they have to be within the rule of law of the United States to be able to have a child that is of those rules of law, which is the Constitution. And essentially, that's really what Donald Trump has the presidential power to invoke. He can do the executive order because this rests way, way back to the 1648 Treaty of Westphalia, which says that European sovereigns as well as American sovereigns have a right to protect their borders and to ensure the nation state is secure. And this is also about what he's saying here, President Trump is saying here, is that this is about stressed national incomes. We can't open the doors and have everyone come in and anchor themselves into the national income of the United States, because that will put the income stressed. So all the growth that we're getting in fast capital, when I say fast capital, fast technology, and fast growth, would be compromised because we would have stressed national incomes if we open all the doors and let everybody come and enjoy the party in the house.
Well, it seems so clear when you explain it. I mean, the difference between illegal and legal is manifestly obvious, however much the left wants to erase the term illegal and alien from our discourse. So why is it that so many progressive talking heads and even some what we would call rhino Republicans insist the president has no authority to exercise this prerogative to get rid of the birthright citizenship aspect of the clause?
Well, I think what President Trump has done is allowed American citizens to have a pocket constitution and actually read it, but also do a little bit more research into the Constitution. In preparing for our segment today, Dr. Duke, I did a real extensive research on the 14th Amendment, and even today I'm inspired to write an article on it today, along with the Treaty of Westphalia, which I'll post on my website. And then I want to link this program to that article so that we can educate people about the power of the 14th Amendment. It's about due process. It's about equality, which are ideas that we really believe in. But it's also about liberty. And then more importantly, it was really defining the United States in two pockets. We were an unorganized society before Reconstruction, and then after Reconstruction, we became an organized society. So when we were an unorganized society, Dr. Duke, we were really working under the realms of the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. But after we became a reconstructed, organized society, we had to come up with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment to be able to look at that reorganization after the Civil War. But the 14th Amendment is so inclusive. It even has a civil rights law or a civil rights act in there from 1868, which really looks at you and I, and then looks at how we can look at other rights that we looked at, like Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. Even Roe versus Wade is falling into that 14th Amendment. We really are now looking at the 14th Amendment discussion today to be the most important discussion about the Constitution of the United States, which is about the rule of law in the United States. And the president has a right as a national security officer and a national security sovereign to protect our national borders from stressed national income.
Great explanation. I go back to that. When the 14th Amendment was passed and the Birthright Citizen Clause was incorporated, can you explain to our listeners what was the immediate crisis at that time in American history that called for that particular amendment to be phrased that way?
Well, the 14th Amendment comes from the Dred Scott case, which really said that me as an African American, I can be a citizen of the United States, even though I have African descendants. So before that Dred Scott case was appealed, I could not be a citizen. Lord knows if I wasn't a citizen, I wouldn't be here to talk to Dr. Duke or be able to teach great kids at my college and university. But most importantly, we got in the Organized Society of America, got our census together. We established the 14th Amendment. And then we were really, that Congress was really voting to ratify that particular amendment, the 14th Amendment, because it wanted to make the constitutionality of the Civil Rights Act of 1868 valid and constitutional.
The very last thing, a quick comment from you. This is a staggering number, and I want your thoughts. Center for Immigration Studies says that between 300,000 and 400,000 children are born to illegal immigrants in the United States every year. That means 1 out of 10 births in the United States is to an illegal immigrant. Oliver, this is a huge problem. I mean, that is, talk a little bit about those numbers and what it means to the American Republic if Donald Trump doesn't act on the 14th Amendment.
We really need to start thinking about how we look at immigration in a serious policy manner. When he brought the Democrats to the table back in January 2018 to talk about the Dreamers, the Democrats walked away from the Dreamers. And so right now, we're now back into this discussion again where we got really sort of a national security crisis in the southern border because we got thousands of people literally going to run up into our front door. And we got a brand new front door up there in building a wall, but also a president who is saying, wait a minute, I got to shut this door because you can't come and crash into my house.
Oliver, it's always a great pleasure talking to you. We will see you again next week on Political Jazz. Stay straight, my friend.